So I'm going to talk about these principles of fascial shearing, this new category of movement we need to train as physical therapists, as trainers, as athletes, and as people who are advocates of our own bodies. So the concept is of fascial shearing and aligning your joints yourself. So here are the concepts. Number one is going to be, it's going to be alignment. What I mean by that is just getting into the right position or a correct position. This can be modified depending on your body type, but it's getting this initial setup, this initial alignment down. Okay, number two is going to be contracting. So what I mean by this, you say, Meena, contracting is an idea of the muscles, which is true. We're going to use the muscles, but to tap into our fascia. So we're talking about going through two motions at once. We're going to contract in one plane of motion and move through another as we keep the initial contraction on the first plane. Now I will give some examples later. Number three, consistency. So what I'm going to talk about here is I'm going to give you an example. If I have two motions that I'm doing, my brain cannot necessarily multitask and do both equally at the same time without training it to, without telling it to. So if I squeeze this pin inwards and I'm pressing in with my hand and I tell my patient, my athlete, to do a bicep curl, keeping this pin here, there's going to be a number one top priority that we need to stay consistent with. And that motion is going to be the inward pressure on the pin. We're going to keep the same force that we're consistent with inward with the pin through the whole bicep curl. Not letting it drop or even squeezing harder or softer. We're going to keep it consistent, okay? So the fourth one is prioritization. And this by far might be the important one for tapping into your fascial planes. Prioritization. As I mentioned just a second ago, we have two contractions, so we're going to choose one to prioritize. One we're going to do stronger, we're going to go harder. We're going to keep our mental focus on that one, and only if we can perform that one will we perform the second motion. If we can stay consistent and prioritize. So in this one, I want to prioritize more the pecs. Pec minor is part of the deep core system of our body. So we're going to squeeze inward with our first priority. First on our to-do list. Then we're going to stay consistent with that first priority throughout this entire range of motion. And so we have to just bring awareness to the pressures we're putting on the pen. So prioritization. This outlines the four conceptual steps we will go through with many examples on how to tap into our fascial planes. Now, is this the only way to do it? No. Body Spring has more ways, but this is going to be the core four foundation to tap into our inner core system. Now, one of the biggest problems in physical therapy training, healing movements, and training athletics is this idea that our core is only in our abdomen. Now, our deep core system is actually inside of every joint, inside of every part of our body. Because what does core mean? Core means the very innermost part. So we have a core of our leg, we have a core of our lower leg, a core of our arm, a core of our neck. We have a core of our body in every segment of our body. And if we can get that core of every segment to line up and act as one, that is when you see amazing feats of athletic movement and superior healing. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to use these principles to tap into the entire core of our body, just like an example you hear today. A lot of times in the media, we talk about contracting our transverse abdominis, using our core muscles, sucking our belly button to our spine, tucking our pelvis, keeping that tight, keeping the core tight, keeping it tight as we go through another motion. So we're keeping the core tight as we jump. We're keeping the core tight as we throw. We're keeping the core tight as we dance, as we play our sport. We're keeping it tight as we try to move our body freely. So we're using the same concept of doing one motion, holding it tight, some type of deep core motion, while we're doing something else. So we're going to keep coming back and reviewing these concepts of how to do that everywhere in the body.